Rabbi. Do you have a question today? I know you do.
I do have a question. Many questions.
Okay.
Actually, I think that last week's episode really hit a nerve.
Okay.
About addiction, and we got quite a number of questions, and this is one that came in that I mean, we can't answer them all. Maybe in the future we'll try to answer more about this, because obviously it's a really important topic. But here's one. Dear Rabbi and Aleeza, I have a pornography addiction. Should I be dating? And if yes, should I tell my dates about it, and when?
Good question.
That's a great question.
Really, really good question.
There were so many questions, but I think...
No, this is very detailed and very specific.
Exactly.
And when we get a specific question, it's easier to be hyper-focused and zoom in. So years ago, I did... there was a show. It was like Jewish Talk Radio, which is no longer around. We can do Jewish Talk Radio if you want. I have some connections now.
Does anyone listen to that?
Well, no, it's not. It's like off the air. I don't even know. Anyway, we had a caller call in and say, I have a pornography addiction, and exactly this. How do I deal with this, and what do I do? Because
it's interesting, because the pornography addiction really is important when dating.
Yes.
Because it's someone will have a skewed image of what they're looking for.
Yes, and how a physical relationship should manifest, and ways in which we're supposed to connect, and what that looks like and feels like. So we talked about it really in depth, and I actually did a lot of listening and asking questions. And this person shared that, I had a pornography addiction. It's a constant thing for me. Right? I'm in process.
We know that addicts can never not be addicts, right? They're always addicts.
Right. And he said, I'm not necessarily like in recovery, but compared to what was happening in the past, it's very different now, and it's much lighter now. And I am going to meetings, and I have a sponsor, and I'm having a hard time dating, because how do I explain this to people, and what are they going to think of me? And we started to really talk about it. And there was a lot of pain and a lot of shame that was there. And from his point of view, it was also, it's very frustrating. Like, it's not like I want to be doing what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing is not to my benefit. It's not healthy for me, and it's not going to be healthy for my relationship. And it's still there. It still comes up for me. And it's like he was so raw and so real with the frustration and the pain of being in that person, being the person who is suffering and struggling with it. And he said he had been in relationships where he did tell people, and he was also asking, like, but when do you say this? So I want to dig into that timeline. I think that we should talk about when a person should speak about this. So let's cut to the chase. First of all, we're not talking about this on a first date. Like, this is not first date material.
Well, I want to first talk to the person who says, should I date? The answer is, I think if you have a good support system, because addicts, the pain, the shame, that's so common with addicts. Yes. So if you're going to meetings, if you have a sponsor, if you feel like, I know that you're not going to have it fully in check, but
you're in a better place than you used to be.
Exactly. That you can see the trajectory of your life, and that you have put yourself in a situation where now you're in a better place.
And you're climbing up the ladder.
And I would say then you are okay to date.
Okay. So the baseline is that wherever you're holding, you're climbing up the ladder.
Because you'll continue climbing. Right. You'll have moments. You'll have moments where you'll fall, but you're going to continue.
But there's an upward trajectory.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that's a great definition.
Now, how to kind of tell that to someone, and when to tell it. You definitely, before you get engaged, the person
for sure
needs to know about it.
Okay, so I'm a numbers person. Okay. I know this is not your favorite thing, but I move through it like this because you're going to feel something, and I'm going to do this with you, okay? I don't think we should tell them on the first date. We're in agreement on that.
Yes.
Second date, I don't know you well enough. I don't know if you buy into me. Do I tell my dirty, dark secrets? I don't mean dirty. I mean like my deep, dark, skeletons in the closet. Probably not. Third date.
And by the way, some maybe, depending on how you're dating, it could be date or month.
Right.
That's important, right? I always say that in some communities, one date equals 1 month, and in some communities, 1 month equals one date.
Right. Right. So it could be at the first month, the second month, the third month. Right.
Right.
If you have a very long dating timeline, then we're going to count by months, not by dates.
Right.
Good clarification. Okay. So by like the third date or the third month, are you telling somebody? So if it's getting,
if there's a movement,
right?
If it's getting serious,
if there's a movement,
if there's a vulnerability and the emotional connection is starting to develop, yes.
Okay. So not that you have to do it by then, but that's only the first point that we're saying, yes, that would be an opening that's good. A first date or a first month or a second date or second month, not as much.
I would assume, this is an assumption.
Yeah.
That, and we're generalizing also.
Generalizing.
Because definitely this is a question that really needs mentorship and guidance and coaching.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that. But let's say, for the sake of this question and for the sake of the podcast, let's generalize. If you're starting to feel an emotional connection and vulnerability with your partner, I would assume that someone with an addiction it would be like itching to tell them.
Right.
If you're itching to tell them, tell them.
Right. Right. There has to be enough of a connection there. There has to be enough of a foundation, because the other thing is, if this doesn't work out with this person, right? This is one more person in your life, in your world that knows this, and this is your private information. So same way that if somebody had a medical condition, at what point would you say something? We could do a whole nother podcast on it, but it's a similar timing where there has to be enough buy-in that it's smart and worthwhile for me to tell you. And not that you're nothing to me.
We're talking about a relationship that you've already been vulnerable. You can't, you have your guard up for the first date or first month, or maybe even, you're having your guard up, but at some point you got to put your guard down. Otherwise, there's not going to be an interaction. Right. So when that starts happening,
you're going to tell them.
Okay, you're going to want to tell them.
Okay, here's the problem. I want to tell this person something. What do I tell them? How much detail do I tell them? We opened a whole can of worms.
We did. And you need guidance. So that guidance can come from your support system, your sponsor, maybe you're seeing a therapist, whoever. So you may have a support system just with your meetings and sponsor and in your world. Right. And probably they would be best
to answer that
question.
Okay.
If you don't have that, if you're thinking to yourself, this is really important and I don't have that.
Right.
And this is a really important thing that's going on, and it's amazing that I just kind of stumbled upon this podcast and it's going on in my life right now. You need to seek out guidance.
Get the right support.
You need a coach,
because there's when you say something, there's what you say, and to the level of detail that you go. In general, for me, I think that sharing the information, right, letting somebody know that I have an addiction is step one. And then very curious people are going to ask, how long has it been going on, and what exactly does that mean, and what?
Let's talk about that a second. If you're the person who's dating someone and they spill the beans that they have an addiction, let's just say for the sake of this question, a pornography addiction, how do you respond to that?
Right. That's the question.
That's another great question that comes up in this conversation.
Right. I think a person's response needs to be a very calm, receptive, hearing, validating, understanding what's going on, and also empathizing with them. Like taking a moment to share that was really, I understand that was difficult for you to share, and that this is a really vulnerable topic, and appreciation that you feel safe enough to say something to me. That just lays the foundation that I didn't make a mistake opening my mouth to you, that I'm not going to be vulnerable and then you're going to come and attack me.
I would add, if you can't do that, don't say anything.
So somebody says something,
don't take it personal. It's so common, because dating, you're raw, you're real, there's a lot of emotions.
Right.
If you can't say it in an empathetic and loving way, don't say it.
Okay, so maybe just like just a little sigh.
And then you can run back and talk to your coach or therapist or whoever you're talking to and say, what do I do?
Okay. I mean, you're in that moment, so you still have to have some sort of a response to somebody. I'd rather give people words than just, I'm not saying they have to be so real, but just to say, that took a lot of courage to share.
But not everyone is able to do that. And so often when
they're sitting there. Wait, they're sitting there. What are they going to say?
I know, but you're sitting there and that person told you that, and it's only natural to take it personal. And it has nothing to do with you. It's their journey and it's their narrative. And it's not your life, it's their life. And
but what do they do? What do they do in that there's an awkward moment that happens if there's no response.
You, as the person who hears that, now have to make a choice whether or not you can be in a relationship with an addict.
No, but how do you respond in that moment? I want to give them a way to respond. They're sitting like this. They're sitting there having a conversation. They're in an open, vulnerable moment. Somebody just shared with them, I'm an addict. And the other person just sits there and gives them a blank stare.
Right. Good point.
What do they do?
What would you say?
I said that they should say thank you for being open and vulnerable and sharing. And, maybe because I don't know how to respond, maybe I say, I'm going to take some time to just reflect on that. And, we can, I don't know, you don't want to lead something like, oh, we can continue this conversation later. I don't know what you want to do. So you might just want to say, thank you for sharing. And I'm going to just reflect on that. And
that sounds
I'm going to sit with that a little just so that I
would take that as like, I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to say that. I would say, I'm listening. Just talk your emotions.
That's great. That's a great answer. I'm listening. Just talk your emotions.
I'm listening now. I don't have a response. This is hard for me. But at least you're validating them and you're being real.
I think that's fair. I think that's good advice as well.
Okay. It's a hard question.
You said tackling the toughest dating questions on this podcast. You meant it.
Yeah. This was great. And just thank you. I think thank you for
being open.
For being open. And
vulnerable.
All the people that send us all these incredible questions, like people really like spilling their heart out and like being so real and vulnerable. And I know that it's so hard. It's so hard to ask and to invite someone else, even
in to give advice.
You don't even know us,
right?
And you're inviting us into your life, and that's really special.